From 0 to 150K in 6 months? Whew. Welcome to the ball game, fellas. Today, I'm interviewing the founders of ScentFilter, Jeremy and Brandon. We're going to talk about how the product came to life, some of the struggles that you guys have powered through to get where you're at, and some of the big keys to the explosive growth that you've been able to enjoy this year. And from what we've seen, I believe you guys are just getting started. So thanks again for joining us today. Take a moment to introduce yourselves, and then we'll talk a little bit about the products.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Right. My name is Brandon Moe. I primarily handle all of our back-end stuff, so I'm the technical guy, despite the technical issues coming in. But my specialty is automation, efficiency, and figuring out how to make stuff work on the back end. I do also have a history and I've run my own e-commerce style business before, so I had some of that knowledge as well. But I'll let Jeremy pick up the slack.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks for having us, Mike. I appreciate the opportunity. My name's Jeremy Van Winkle. I have been in entrepreneurship for a long time, but as anything goes, it takes a long time to figure things out. Lots of failures through the process. But first off, ScentFilter came to life because I saw a gap in the market, and where that gap was is you had really expensive whole home fragrance systems that were a lot of upfront cost. The oils of the fragrance were a high monthly bill, and they were full of toxins. One of my daughters has severe allergies, so I wanted to bring in something, especially for my family, to bring a non-toxic fragrance to the home that I could replace a cartridge every month for a percentage of the cost of what those systems cost. That's where the idea started, and we've been iterating and building since then.
That's good stuff. So we have a ton of founders and startups or folks that are even considering going down like the entrepreneurial path, watching stuff like this. So talk to us a little bit about how you came up with even the sourcing plan to be able to kind of get your products created. Like, what did that look like?
So there's been a lot of hiccups through that. We started off overseas. That didn't go as planned. We lost a lot of money, especially when the tariffs hit, just that whole scenario, communication, language barrier. It was very tough. Where I feel like we succeeded in that is just not giving up and knowing that we had to solve a problem. And so when all of that hit, we decided to come to American manufacturing. Where it started was my garage. I started getting samples, building prototypes, and doing all the work myself to figure out how we can make the product work. And what's funny is that very first one, we thought it was beautiful. We thought it worked perfectly, and that was not the case. It was ugly. It did not work great. And we're on the 4th iteration of it, working on the 5th. So it's a constant evolution. But the biggest advice I could give on that is just being willing to roll up your sleeves. What's crazy now, especially with Amazon, you can buy just about anything you need from Amazon to build a prototype, to build a working prototype. It's that simple. And now in the age of AI, using AI to help configure that, what do I need? Take a picture of a part. Where do I even find this part? Where do I find a wholesale supplier for this part? And using all of those resources that we have at our fingertips to be able to start building a prototype. But I am a little different in that, I always give credit to God. He's the one that controls it all. He's the one that brings the increase. But he built my mind a little bit different. We're created in the image of God, but he created me to be a creator. And so I have a creative mind. This is not my first product. I built great quality products in the beginning, but couldn't figure out how to sell them. So it's a two-edged sword. But that is my strong suit is to come up with ideas and build them and roll up my sleeves and get them done.
I love that. And I love that you brought up how you had to shift your original game plan when it came to sourcing and fulfillment. I literally just did a video on the impact of the tariffs and the removal of the de minimis exemption, how that has impacted dropshippers and just a lot of folks' business models. So, I'll drop that in the description below for those of you guys watching this. But politics aside, that is kind of the point. How many of these type of things that we were going overseas for, could we fulfill or get source in the United States, even if it's not all of it, it's pieces of it, right? And there are a lot of folks out here, and I talk to a lot of folks, at pop-up shops, or maybe they're creating things, and they might even be willing to do drop shipping for folks. So just not saying, hey, if I can't get something from China or wherever, that doesn't mean that's the end of your plan. It just means that we need to think about it differently. So I'm really glad that you brought that up. Now, when you first spoke with one of my teammates before you joined the program, it was a pretty emotional call. When you first spoke with one of my teammates before joining the program, it was definitely a pretty emotional call. Talk to us a little bit about some of the things that you were going through, maybe personally, that brought you to this point and had you, in that type of a state.
So when you're starting out as an entrepreneur, nobody tells you really how hard it is. And that's not to scare anyone off, because the upside is so big if you're willing to persevere. But where I was at is I had built 2 products, couldn't figure out how to sell them. I've got a big family, a wife and 4 children under the age of 9. As a father's role and a husband's role, we're to provide. And this is what I chose to walk down the path for my career. And I was not making it. I was failing on every front as far as being able to provide. Didn't know what I was doing, taking investor dollars, trying to make things happen, and had no idea where to go next. And I was looking for help, looking for somebody that had already been down the path. They've already blazed it, right? So it makes it walking easier for me if they've already cut the path and removed the boulders and the sticks and knocked down the grass a little bit, so that I could walk a little bit easier. And so I was looking for that person desperately that had done it, because we were in a bind and a long way to get out. So yeah, it was a tough spot when I came across you.
And now, knowing where you were at, to see the type of insane growth that you and your team have seen over the last couple months, how does that feel?
The other day, I was watching you introduce me when I'd hit 50K, and you brought up the amount of stuff that I'd gone through recently with some health challenges in my family. And it kind of took me back for a second to realize what I have persevered through, because I have really big goals, and it feels great to finally see the light at the end of the tunnel, but knowing there's still a lot of work to do. But to hear someone else recognize this dude is just going through it, but he's not giving up. And it was really great to hear from just an outside perspective of, dude, just keep going. You've got it. You've got what it takes. Just show up tomorrow, do the best you can today, and just keep going.
Yeah, man. Now, betting on yourself is a superpower, and not everyone has that, or has the strength, confidence to power through the self-doubt, the fear, or things that may have happened in their past and not allowed them to stop them from moving forward. And I think that just that ability to tune out, I think, has definitely been amazing, right? Brandon, obviously, you're a part of the mix. How does it feel to know that the type of thing that you've built and grinded away on is now doing stuff like this? Like, how does that feel?
It's great. I mean, you can see it's awesome to see, despite all the challenges that we've had thus far. And it's all the stuff, like Jeremy said, that nobody talks about when you're trying to build a product. You're like, oh, that's a great idea. Why didn't I think of that? Well, it's a lot more than the idea. And there are several challenges that we haven't even spoke about yet. But yeah, it's an awesome feeling to be able to build something like that and see it grow to what it has become. On the topic of just keep going, I would like to give a shout out to Jeremy, because anybody I ever talk to about Jeremy, I will say that he is the epitome of just keep going. Like, there's a lot of his story that he hasn't told yet that I think speaks a lot to how much perseverance that he has.
Man, people see the tip of the iceberg. They see, oh, look at these sales numbers. Like, they look at that. Oh, I see him in these ads. Everything is great. If only I could do that. But what they don't see is all the stuff below water that you power through, right? Not just from personal, but also just again from the business and marketing, the different things that you have to work through. And it's like, yeah, you see a number and it's like, well, you still have to do this and XYZ. You have to be able to pivot and adapt and do all these other things. And, when people are watching, random videos with gurus talking to them, they don't always tell the truth. And that's why I like doing calls like this with founders like yourselves. So that way folks can really see the other side of the coin and really talk to real business owners so that we understand, hey, it's not just, the marketing. We'll talk about some of the things that, that have helped you guys get ahead. But it's also important that you have the mental fortitude to deal with the nonsense that you're going to run into and be able to compartmentalize away, the struggles that you may have had before coming into business. So that way you can keep your eye on the prize. All right. So with the momentum that you guys have had, tell me, how did you find out about me?
I think it was a random Google ad or Facebook ad. Sorry. That's what one of your videos popped up. Hey, if you're trying to get to 10K a month is what I think it was. Let me go through your store. And I was like, okay, who's this guy? I don't know this guy. Who is he? He knows something I don't know is, I think how I found you.
Yeah. Paid ads work. So, I mean, obviously there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of noise out there, right? A lot of options and people trying to get in your, sell you stuff, right? What made you decide to join the eCom sales engine?
I've been on a lot of sales calls in my life, and you can pick who somebody's just got something to sell you or somebody that's truly interested in helping you. And Alyssa was the person that came across to sell me after I'd signed up and put in an inquiry. And on that phone call, I think we went over probably 45 minutes to an hour beyond the time that we had set. And she took time out of her day to hear me out, to understand what I was trying to accomplish. She heard where I was at, and she allowed compassion to go beyond her calendar to see if we would be a good fit, if Mike could help me. And obviously there was a line drawn. Hey, we know we can help you. And she had the compassion to hear me out. But it was also a place where I had to put some dollars on the line to get that help. And so that was the turning point, was her compassion through the sales process to understand where I'm at, where I'm trying to go. She could obviously, I cried on the call. There was a lot of emotion. I was trying to figure it out. I was hitting brick wall after brick wall, but she stayed in there, and that's what earned the sale, was her just staying in there, having the compassion to hear me and make sure that y'all could help me where I was at.
Yeah. I'm glad that you brought that up, because one of the big problems today with mentors or agencies or the freelance, there's so many people out here that really just want folks' money, right? And when you actually care about your customers and the people that you work with, that comes across to people, not even just from like a mentorship perspective with me, but even as a seller like yourself, there are people that do not give a damn about product quality. They don't care about their customers' experiences after purchase. And that is the curse of the drop shipper, right? Especially sending cheap trash from China. They don't care about fulfillment, packaging, any of that. I'm just trying to make money. I'm not playing for purchase number 2 or 3, right? I'm playing for purchase right now. And when you actually care about your people, regardless of what you're selling, it comes across in your messaging, it comes across in how you deal with folks. And that you want to have less returns. You want to not have to worry about chargebacks. You want to not have to worry about a lot of extra stuff. Care about your people and put them first. It goes from the top all the way down. And I know that you guys care about your customers because you've had different stuff going on. You're like, no, we're going to fix it. I'm not just going to cram it down your throat. We're going to fix it. And that's a really good thing.
That's definitely been our mantra, you know, since day one. Like I said, we've had lots of struggles. We had people waiting a month and a half for product, and being in front of the issue and showing that we care. You know, we've been able to keep the returns at a minimum. We've been able to keep, you know, we've had people saying, yeah, I'm waiting a month, but, you know, the customer service is great. So, you know, I love this brand, you know, that sort of thing. So it's definitely important.
As far as the entrepreneur goes, don't let that weigh that, like how much you care about your customer and the value that you're trying to bring your customer. Don't let perfection of that get in the way of starting though. For us, you know, like I said earlier, we're on our 4th iteration of this product, working on our 5th iteration. You have to start somewhere. Your first product is not going to be perfect. It's probably going to fail. It's not going to meet customer expectations. But that very first product proves a business. That very first product proves that the customer wants to purchase what you're selling. Even though it's not perfect, even though the packaging sucks, you might have shipping problems. In our case, the entire package would be covered in fragrance oil. But we would never be where we are right now if we hadn't started with an imperfect product. But at the same time, to have enough care that we're trying to provide so much value to people by fragrance in their home, keeping it non-toxic. We've got more products that we're working on right now to further add value. We would never be here if we hadn't started with an imperfect product. Delivering the best we could at that time so that we could get cash flow, so that we could prove the business model, so that we could get customers that said, hey, I'll wait a month and a half for you to figure it out and get it to me because I want it. I would never know that if we hadn't started with an imperfect product.
Right. Launch, right? Find
Launch,
a problem,
baby.
try to do your best to solve that problem and get it out there, because what you launch today doesn't mean that's what it's going to be forever, right? The best way to find out if something's going to work is not to sit and ponder and think and think and think and think. It's to go out there and find out what's working, right? Let numbers tell you what's working. Let customers tell you what they like and don't like, and then be willing to pivot and react based on what you're actually seeing. And again, that's a very important thing, because I talk to so many people, right, that, and again, you guys can tell we care, right? So I hear their stories, and so many people let things that may have happened in their past, or even trying to get fulfillment to get their products out the door. So many of people let the stuff like that kill their dreams in the cradle. If you don't mind sharing, what were maybe some of the things that got you emotional on that initial call? Like what was triggering to you there?
Well, like I said, it's my family. I know God created me for a big purpose in life. How deep you want to go right here, Mike?
Well, again, there's marketing stuff, and again, we're going to touch on that in a moment. But when you understand that this game is science and psychology, if you have a good product that helps people, like you can get it, you can figure out how to position it, right?
Yeah.
But some of the more emotional challenges, fighting through outside factors, kills a lot more businesses than even the marketing piece. So again, you don't have to, go as deep as you feel comfortable, but, maybe share a little bit about why you were in a state like that.
So I have mentioned him multiple times, but God is a big, big part of my life. And I know he created me for a big purpose. And that purpose is to help people through addiction. And I am an ex-meth and heroin addict. Matter of fact, January will make 8 years that I changed my life. And I know that I can't be a great impact to this world, even to America. There's 99 million people in America that are in addiction. I can't be the impact that God created me to be if I don't go create something great. Because that takes money, that takes fruit from a person's life, that takes process that a person must walk through to allow the fruit that God can bring from a person's life to change the next person's life. So I have to walk that process. So part of that process was me getting clean, creating my family, building my family, leading my family as a man, as a father, as a husband, leading a community as a business owner. All of those things create fruit. So I had done a great job up until the point to where the next step that I needed to take was creating fruit in business to show that someone can go from zero and change their life. And the emotional state of that was, I know what I'm supposed to do and I'm hitting a brick wall because I don't know how to do it. And feeling that tug to go do something great. And it's beyond me, right? Why do I want to create wealth in the first place? Is to advance the kingdom of God, to create legacy for my family that goes beyond me, so that I can be the best step ladder I can be, so that my children and the people that follow me after can look at my experiences, can look at my failures, can look at my successes, and use those to enhance their own lives, so they don't have to walk down the path that I walk. Just like when I found you, Mike, you've been in this e-commerce space. You've been going through your own things. We've talked about some of that, where you have been blazing a path. You've had the weed eater out, cutting the grass. You've been picking up sticks. You've been removing boulders. And the only way you found those boulders is because you tripped over them. So it's going through this and hitting those failures, moving them from our life, making a path over the obstacles, and knowing that I had that big purpose, knowing that I had this huge call and weight on me to go do something great. And here I was, I felt like I had something great. Matter of fact, the other product that originally brought me to you, it was a great quality product, but we couldn't sell it. And like Brandon likes to say, he's like, ScentFilter was like the lowest one that I thought would work. That's the least one of your ideas. And here it is, that's the one that's working. But it was just feeling that great call, that great pressure of knowing I'm supposed to do something great, but here I am at an obstacle and I have no idea how to clear this obstacle or get past it. And that's where I was mentally, physically, financially. I was there.
It's a beautiful thing. And I'm glad that you broke it down that way. I'm a man of faith myself. And I remember, when I first started my business, when I left my agency and I was kind of trying to figure out how to grow and get myself going on my own without, big marketing staffs and all these other things. And, when, I made a pact, with God, and I was like, look, you help me get through this. You help me get through this. And, I pledge I will do everything that I can to give back and to help others. And, people ask me all the time, well, oh, you're so good at e-commerce. Why don't you have like 10 different e-com brands? Well, one, I'm ADHD. I can't focus on that many things at one time. All right. And two, because I can have even bigger impact and legacy by helping folks with amazing ideas and drive, but maybe lacking in like strategy or tactics, helping them see how to get where they really want to go and build the type of things that they build. And it's almost like, multi-level marketing at that point. It's like, you guys are my babies and I get to see you do amazing things and try, and I see the way that it impacts your life. And I get to go on that ride of growth and excitement every time. We celebrated when you had your first 10, right? And you were just below 10. And then we celebrated when you were just below 20. And then we celebrated when you cleared 50. And now you're at 150K. And we're still talking about like, well, shit, we can go a lot higher than that. Right. And that's why I do what I do. Right. And that's part of the pact that I made to keep giving back, because, none of what we're talking about is like new or crazy. People have been selling things buy low, sell high for thousands of years across the globe, no matter what skin tone they are, no matter where they're from. Right. It's just understanding how to do that on devices and today. Right.
Yeah.
So, you just gotta go out and seize the bull by the horns. So now what I want to talk about is some of the more tactical things that helped you guys really accelerate. So some of the biggest keys, some of the big secrets to your accelerated growth was three big things, right? It was one, the type of offer that you used early on to help get you guys stuff rolling. Two, it was definitely the aggressive scaling with the paid advertising, right? That was a major piece of it. And then three, the RPM, your recurring profit machine, right? The monthly subscription element of this to get that repeat business. So those were some of the three biggest keys. We're going to talk a little bit more about them.
I would also like to add, sorry to cut you off, but I'd also like to add bundling and upsells, downsells to that. Those doubled our AOV. So that made a huge impact.
Yeah, no, when I talk to folks, when I talk about, how the RevX formula works, right? There's three ways to grow a business. right? One, acquire a customer. Two, get them to buy more. Three, get them to buy more frequently, right? And if you were just focused on getting them to buy, then you wouldn't have done some of those different bundles and upsells, which increase your average order value. And then suddenly your ad cost per purchase, if that math ain't mathing, now you can't scale. So that
Yeah.
buy more piece was a huge part of what made secret number two effective, right? It's knowing how to approach things from a solid foundation, right? So that way we can accelerate. So one of the things that you guys did, even with the pre-orders, that helped it take off. You guys were pretty aggressive there. Tell me a little bit about the offer that you did there.
I think we did 50% off, didn't we, Brandon? Yeah.
Hey, we were at the very beginning. It was, I want to say, $9.99, $9.95.
It was super low. The
It
economics
was so low.
did not work, but that allowed us to get the door open just a crack. But we went hard on paid advertising through the pre-launch, and we were often offering steep discounts. We had, like, it's funny now, but 5 different places on the website plus emails saying, hey, this is a pre-launch, it's going to take time. And customers don't read all the time. So then we ask, where's my order? Hey, this is a pre-launch. It's in the banners. It's in the hero image, all those things. But
Confirmation email and the shipping details.
it's funny. I mean, we learned a lot through that. But yeah, so the pre-launch was huge. That was basically a cash grab. We needed cash to go fulfill these orders. We needed to prove the model. Do people really want this before we spend thousands and thousands and tens of thousands building right outside this door? Here's a whole manufacturing and assembly line, because we do it from A to Z. So before we did that, we needed to know that this was something people wanted. And so we learned that in the pre-launch phase. We got tons of orders and we were super transparent. Brandon is amazing at customer service. So him taking care of all those customers, getting inundated every day with emails. Hey, where's the order? What's the progress? Keeping up, pushing out emails saying, hey, this is where we're at in the process. All of that was a big success in the pre-launch phase.
No, that's a big piece. And when I talk about Mafia offers, right? One, putting your offer in front of the right person, because you could be 100% off if you show the wrong person. What difference does it make? And that's also what allowed you to, not have to be insane. You're able to come get a little bit more reasonable with the discount you offer because, you were addressing a problem, and how you were talking about it, even in your messaging and your advertising, was really to help address that problem and speak to that and get that in front of the right people. Right. And then we also incorporated some urgency into it. It's like, yeah, it's pre-order, but you still have a limited amount of time to take action on it. Right. And that helped. Whenever we can incorporate urgency, scarcity, that makes people think about things a little bit less. It helps get people off that fence just a little bit faster. And it's a percentage game when we're doing, just eCom in general, but especially with paid advertising. A few percentage points in this direction can be the difference between an ad losing money, an ad breaking even, or an ad making money, right? So every little bit helps, and just incorporating urgency, the sexy offers, that helps get those ads working well for you. Right. Now, onto the paid advertising piece of it, because I see videos where you're showing and you're demonstrating stuff there. Talk to us a little bit about what you feel like you were doing advertising wise that helped you cut through the noise and get a little bit of traction.
So one, in my eCom Bible that I created at the beginning of the RevX roadmap, I was able to see what all of my competitors, even though our product is different, those competitors were doing in the home fragrance space. And so I tried to get creative around and find what are they not doing. And in the beginning, what I found was humor. And that allowed us to get some attention. And so I was using humor, and even some cases, humor against cancel culture, to stop that 2-second scroll, that 2-second thumb swipe, by putting myself out there, not being afraid to be in front of the camera. And I do believe 100% in the beginning stages, using that humor to stop the scroll before we started getting just a little bit of brand awareness. Look, we're nowhere near brand awareness. One day we'll be a household name, but for sure not right now, but in the very beginning, using humor, like our greatest hook in that humor section of our ads was, ladies, if you can make a sandwich. And so that's like a long-standing joke, you know, but we used that to grab the attention. Hey, if you can make a sandwich, you can make your house smell like a goddess. And so it showed, it was a hook and then dream outcome all in the first 3 seconds. And so we used that for a very long time. People would call me names and then still say, hey, I'm still going to buy your product.
Hell yeah.
You're an idiot, but I'm going to buy your product.
Right.
And so in the beginning, that humor really helped us get going.
That's beautiful. I mean, there's only two types of ads, right? There's two types. There is intent and there's interruptive, right?
Yeah.
Commercials, interruptive. Ads in newspaper and whatever, interruptive. Things on the radio, interruptive. All these things are interruptive. So ads on social media, interruptive, right? And intent is Google is intent. You know, the white yellow pages, that's intent, right? When you are doing interruptive, it's not enough to just be there. You need to capture attention and capture attention in a way where they're not like, God, let me get past this, I'm annoyed, right? And one of the things that really helped you was using those type of pattern interrupts, saying things that they weren't expecting, allowing yourself to be human while also addressing things that they cared about. That was a big thing. So when it comes to just, you know, ads, you don't need a million creatives. You don't need a million things to go. You just need things to hit. And then when it hits, we lean
Scale
in,
it.
right? You lean in and scale. And that's why, you know, yes, it's been a crazy growth journey for you, but it's not outrageous when you do things the right way, right? And understand how to play the game. And yeah, sure, not every ad that you did worked out well, but it was a
No.
numbers game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, we've launched probably, I would say 250 plus ad creatives, testing and trying to figure out what works. Another great piece for an interrupt was using education and using the product as an interrupt, like taking one of our scent cartridges and saying, this cartridge goes on this air filter. Whoa, I've never seen that. And they immediately get it. So it was a pattern interrupt. I just did another shot and edited 15 videos yesterday morning, and I put some humor back in there. I rubbed 2 of our cartridges together and acted like it was, I can't think of the EKG. I put them on my chest and was like, clear. And then, you know, I used humor to use our product in the humor. And in day 1, we're already seeing that ad get great traction. First couple of hours, we had 12 add to carts, and it right after we launched it. So yeah, just figuring out those pattern interrupts, but staying on message, staying on point in front of your demographic, your avatar, creating stuff that they're going to get immediately in those first 2 to 3 seconds. That's what you need.
Gotta hang
What
on
we
to
found. I'm not an expert by no means, but that's what we found.
No, you got to hang on to it. But see, you've paid advertising and just playing the acquisition game, that sounds exciting. And that's what a lot of folks will talk about, right? All you need is just ads and a product, ads and a product. But the reality is the money isn't made in acquisition like that on that first purchase.
No.
And if that
That's
was
the
all
battle.
that was all you were relying on, you'd be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
But one of the things that really helps you guys and having that as a piece of your operation from the very beginning, and we're going to talk even more about scaling and growing this part, you know, when we wrap this up, but you know, your recurring profit machine, I call them RPMs, right? And I encourage every person watching this, right, to create some sort of a monthly option, some sort of a monthly subscription core to your business where we can say, hey, out of X customers I can get I to subscribe and pay me every month like Netflix. That's one of the things that allows you to scale aggressively, because you know you're not just playing for purchase number 1. I have a plan in place to get people to buy more frequently, right? And a lot of that can be automated. What are maybe some keys or some secrets that you guys have been able to pick up on that helped you get people to subscribe or want to keep getting your stuff coming month after month?
Well, it's always value over price. If I can show enough value is why they'll want this month over month, then I'm doing a great job. The second part of that, as far as like tactical things that we've learned, is first off, we knew we wanted the subscribers from the beginning. That was the whole business model, right? We built this product so that it is a consumable, it's replaceable every 30 days. So that was in the design features of figuring this whole model out. But just going back to now, you've got choice A, B, and C. Do I buy it one time? Do I sign up for a monthly? And do I prepay quarterly? And this is a challenge we're working on right now. But using price anchoring to show the customer through psychology which one's the best deal and why do I need that one. And so we did that early on unknowingly, but we price anchored heavy to our monthly subscribers, and we were getting 25, some days 35% of our sales immediately subscribing to a product that was on pre-launch, that they weren't getting for at least 6 weeks and they never tried before. So using that price anchoring and that psychology to get first-time buyers to subscribe early, because you're going to lose on that first sale through paid advertising. So I acquire said customer for $50. They spend $29 plus shipping and tax, and I'm losing $20 on the first sale. But month two, if I provided enough value, month two, I'm back in the black again. I'm no longer in the red. And so if I can protect my cash flow enough to understand that I'm going to lose $20 on the first month, but I'm going to be positive in the second month, as soon as I ship the second one, that subscription machine goes off and now I'm positive, then I can continue to go acquire more customers.
Right? It massively increases your lifetime customer value, because we're not just playing for today, we're playing for tomorrow, we're playing for the month after that, the month after that. And it forces you to care about your customer's experience, because, that's one of the keys to profitability. And, you can build stuff like this into your business. It doesn't just have to be like air fresheners like what we sell, or, scent filters like what you like. You can do that with apparel. It's easy. Give them boxes, right?
Yeah.
Accessories, jewelry. This just give people the ability to get the things that they want coming on a regular basis. And like you said, you anchor it. You anchor it from not even just a price. Here's what you would spend. Here's what you do, right? This doesn't sound as bad because you think about that, but also just lifestyle anchoring. This is what you would have to go out and do all these things. You would have to go and try all these things on. You would have to go and mix and match and put all this stuff in. Why not have that decision fatigue not be a thing?
Yeah.
Right. So anchoring against what they would be doing if they didn't have something just coming every month like Netflix. Think about the Netflix and what that actually is. Yeah, sure, you could be constantly trying to find the next thing to watch, going over here, going over there, hopping over here, hopping over there. Instead, you can get everything in one place on pretty much any device, and we bring you new stuff every single month. And we take away the decision fatigue. People say, I'm Netflix, and it's a word. I'm Netflix and chilling. What are you doing? Netflix and chilling, right? It's a thing now because it gives you so much convenience, and anchored against what you could be doing. That's a no-brainer, right? It's a no-brainer. And again, that's a big part of what's allowed you to be so aggressive on the advertising scaling end of things, because you know that you have that back end piece in, right? Now, Brandon, I know you've been in the background a little bit over there. Maybe what are some nuggets or some tips that you've been able to pick up along the way that you might want to drop?
So, kind of staying on the same topic, I mentioned before, this isn't my first foray in e-commerce. I had an e-commerce business from 2020 to 2023. That was relatively successful. I would average probably around 10K a month with no ad spend. So all organic growth. But my biggest problem is that I didn't take seriously bundling and upselling and recurring subscription or recurring revenue, business model. because I was seeing success with the single purchase. That's been the biggest eye opener for me, is implementing those things into the ScentFilter product and seeing how much it actually does make a difference. I heard people talk about it, obviously, like I knew what they were, but was not convinced that it made that much of a difference. But I've seen it in real time now. So
Buy, buy, buy more frequently. Everybody focuses on buy. Everybody talks about buy. There's how much content out there about traffic and ways to get people to buy. But the real money is really made in buy more and buy more frequently. And when you have a plan for that, you don't even have to knock it out of the park. Like, you guys aren't even necessarily completely crushing it on the buy more and the buy more frequently piece, right? But you don't have to nail it because it's a percentage game,
Yep.
right? And just having percentages here and there allows everything else to be that much better. And as you work to improve those percentages, which we're going to be working on now, then that's going to make everything else feel even better, because buy more and buy more frequently, that's house money.
Yeah.
That's
We've already acquired them.
house
That
money.
big dollar is gone. For us, our average is $50. We have to spend $50 in paid advertising for us to acquire a single customer. That doesn't include COGS, that doesn't include processing fees, capital, that doesn't include any of that. So before we even see one single penny, we have to spend 50 to get that first penny. So now that we've already acquired that customer, they've signed up to be an email subscriber, an SMS subscriber, or they've actually spent money with us. It becomes so much easier, and we're working really hard on that as far as offering front-end bundles to decrease our, the goal is to break even. If we can break even on a first sale, we've won. Because now month 2, I can sell again, and I've covered that acquisition cost.
House
And
money, baby.
we just had the release of Hormozy's new book, The $100 Million Money Models. We've been running through that. That's been our guide, trying to implement these front-end bundles to be profitable on the first sale.
Right? Yeah, that's one of the things, e-commerce has definitely changed since the iOS crackdown and all the other things. Paid advertising is more expensive. CPMs are up compared to what they were during, like, the glory days. You remember the glory days, Brandon, right?
I hear about it, yep.
All right. But it still goes back to the same thing, I stress, which is buy more, because if it's going to cost you more to get a customer, focus on getting them to spend more, right? And then buy more frequently, because any purchase after the first one is house money. And when you play the game like that, everything else becomes easier. Everything else becomes a lot easier, right? So again, you guys, you have different backgrounds, but you've had to really power through some challenges to get where you're at today, right? And again, the sky is still the limit. I think you have a lot more in the tank, and we're going to talk about getting more out of that. So is there any other ideas or things that you want to throw towards founders before we wrap this call up?
I think, as all founders, we have a great idea. We're embarking on this new journey, but we don't fully understand what the amount of work that it's going to take. And preparing yourself for that is one thing. But the people around us in our lives, preparing them for that is a much different. And so I'm grateful for my wife. I'm grateful for my family and my business partners. But the number one thing that I think that has been truly helping me along this journey, outside of, we could talk tactics and marketing and all this stuff all day. But the number one thing outside of this is the communication that I've had with my wife, that I've had with my children, that I've had with my partners and other friends in my life. Hey, this is a season of my life that I'm living, that I'm going for. And you're not going to see me as often, but when I'm with you, I'll be intentional with my time. And so setting that expectation to the people around us that are closest to in our lives of, hey, this is why I'm doing it. Here's what I'm doing. And Clearly communicating that so that everybody is on board brings so much peace through the process that gives you so much freedom to think, to act, to grind, to give 120% effort, because that's what it's going to take. But if you can learn to communicate that to the people around you, that is such a key and should never be forgotten.
Powerful stuff, man. Brandon, what about you? What's the nugget you can offer for a founder?
The number one thing that I've learned from this whole thing is probably just take action. And what I mean by that is, and I've been guilty of this myself prior to this whole thing, but there's been plenty of times so far where I've been like, we're not ready for this. Like, are you sure we should do this? And Jeremy's just like, let's just go for it. And had we pondered, like, this isn't perfect, or whatever little detail it is, past me would have hesitated and waited until it was, and then launched it, as opposed to like, let's just do it. Like, if your customer service is great, and that's one of my core values in business, is great customer service. If your customer service is great, you'll be surprised how much your customers will actually be willing to wait or put up with if you're going to deliver them a valuable product and a great experience. And that's been the number one eye opener for me.
Put your people first. It's an amazing thing. I live and die by that, man. So the last thing would just be, again, you guys have been testament at what you fought through, where you're trying to go. What would you say to someone who is maybe on the fence about joining the eCom Sales Engine program?
Dude, I've said it like 3 times already, if they ain't got it by now. But listen, it is the value of a person that has walked before you and cleared the sticks, the boulders. They built a bridge across the stream. They've knocked down the grass. They've manicured the grass for you to walk and follow them is priceless. It's priceless. I would not be here. Look, and I love surrounding myself with people that I can go to and say, hey, this is where I'm at. What do I do? Because I ask 2 questions all the time to the people closest around me. What am I not doing right? Or what am I doing wrong? Or what do I need to do more of? So having a person in front of you that has been there, that's been through all the challenges, they're being a stepladder for you, is priceless. It's absolutely priceless. Join.
Appreciate you sharing that. And then where can folks grab your stuff and find out more about you?
ScentFilter.com. We've got amazing stuff in the pipeline, solving more problems we're excited about. But yeah, all the social media, YouTube, installation videos, how to, all the different scents, ScentFilter.
Dang. All right, fellas, thanks for sharing your testimony with us, dropping some nuggets for founders. I have a feeling that this video is going to help a lot of folks out and pay it forward. So, you're doing God's work.